Imagine having your own AI agent that can write scripts, generate content, and automate your work 24/7. In this tutorial, we'll build an AI worker that automatically writes YouTube scripts, generate title ideas, and create thumbnails, all without writing a single line of code. We'll turn this blank canvas into a fully functional AI agent that packages everything into a ready-to-use content brief. Whether you're a developer or a business owner, these type of automations can save you hundreds of hours of work. And what's cool about MindStudio is you can get started for free. In this video, we'll build this YouTube script writer, but with MindStudio, you can automate virtually any task you can think of. So what exactly is MindStudio? MindStudio is a low-code platform for building agent workers that can run in the background, for instance on a schedule, or they can be triggered by an external application using the MindStudio API. Of course, they also offer a chat interface that you can use to test your worker before shipping to production. So in a nutshell, it allows developers and even non-technical people to automate processes using AI workers. MindStudio also supports a lot of different LLM providers like OpenAI and Anthropic, as well as many open source models. And we can also easily swap out the large language model on a node per node basis. As for their pricing, you can get started for free by signing up for this community package, and after signing up you will receive $5 worth of credits, and you'll receive an additional $5 by opting in to give them feedback on your specific use case. There on out, you are simply billed for your usage, and on the pricing page you can see the pricing for each model. And these also include image generation models, by the way. We also have access to text-to-speech models and image analysis models, and they will also be rolling out support for video generation models as soon as the Sora and Google Video Gen APIs become available. Just to give you some context, if you use the Claude 3 Haiku model with your free credit, you will effectively get over 2 million output tokens, or about 30 million tokens if you use Gemini 1.5 Flash. That's enough to generate roughly 1,000 articles using Gemini 1.5 Flash. So to get started, you can go to mindstudio.ai or use the link in the description of this video. That will tell MindStudio that I sent you. Let's click on Get Started for free, sign up with one of these providers. You should now be presented with the dashboard. Under Resources, you will find links to videos and articles on using different features in MindStudio. On the left-hand side, I do want to point out a few of these items, like the Usage Explorer, which gives you a breakdown on your usage per worker, user, as well as per model. We can also view billing related information like our account balances. We can also set things like budgets and limits and assign payment methods. We can also create teams and invite team members. And under the developer section, we can generate things like API keys and view our API usage under the API dashboard. Of course, if you want more information on using the APIs, you can click on Documentation, and here you will find information about the APIs related to running your apps, getting billing information, etc. And they also provide a JavaScript SDK for making it even easier to work with your workers. Now let's go back to our dashboard and let's create our first worker. On this page, we can simply describe the type of agent that we're trying to build, and MindStudio will use an AI agent to generate this workflow for us. And we will have a look at this in a minute, but let's first learn how to build these projects ourselves by clicking on Open Blank Project. Now we're in the workflow editor. On the left-hand side, we can view the different components that make up this workflow. We can assign different data sources. This is effectively the knowledge base of our agent. We can also write custom functions, and these can be written in Python or JavaScript. We can also specify user inputs, and most importantly, is we have access to our workflow. Within a workflow, we also have options to set a system prompt. This is effectively our AI agent's system prompt. So because I'm trying to create a YouTube content creator agent, I'll add this to the system prompt. I'll define the role and I'll enter, you are an experienced YouTube content creator. To view the actual workflow, we can click on Automations, and from here we can simply add nodes to a canvas to build out this automation. This is where we'll spend the majority of our time. But before we add anything to this, we can also go to Model Settings, and here we can specify the general model that this workflow will use. We are able to change the underlying model per node as well, but this is the general model that each of the nodes will default to. I'll leave it on 3.5 Haiku. We can also set things like the temperature and the maximum amount of tokens that the responses are allowed to take up. And we can also set up evaluations, which are like predefined test scripts with the expected outputs. We will have a look at this later on in the video. We can also change the settings of our workflow by clicking on this root node. Now we can rename our worker to something like YouTube Content Agent, and optionally we can give it a description. If you do want to use MindStudio as a chatbot, then you can change the style and branding of the chat window as well. We can also set the usage limits per workflow, and we can also set global variables, and these variables are accessible to any node within the workflow. I'll simply close this tab, and let's go back to our automation. At the moment, we only have a start node and a chat node. This chat node simply allows us to interact with this workflow like a chatbot. And we can actually test it out by going to Preview and Preview Draft. This will open up a new tab, and in this window we can simply chat to our application like any other chatbot, and we do get our response back. Let's make this workflow a bit more useful by adding a new node. Let's select Generate Text, and let's provide a prompt like generate a YouTube script based on the following topic. The script should contain the hook, intro, and the main talking points. Then for the topic, we'll inject this variable, and we can access the variable by using these double curly braces and the variable name. Now, where does this variable come from? We can set that variable in the start node by adding a new launch variable, and let's give it that name of topic. So this means that this workflow expects a value called topic to be passed to it, and this generate text node will then inject that topic text into this prompt. We can also rename nodes by right-clicking it and clicking on Rename. Let's call this Generate Script. Now that we have our prompt, I actually do want to change the setting from Display to User to Save in Variable. This will allow us to save the response generated by the LLM in a new variable, which we'll call Script. And instead of sending the response to a chat window, we're actually going to change this behavior from chat to end session. And this is an important point about MindStudio. The intent of the application is not to build chatbots, but instead AI workers that you can run on a schedule in the background, or you can call these agents from an external system using API endpoints. The response of your agent will typically be returned as a JSON structure, or your agent could do something like email the results to you. But a very common use case is to return data in a structured format. So in this example, after our workflow executed, we want to return the script, the title ideas, the thumbnail, or maybe some other data in a structured format. At the moment, we only have the script outline. So what we can do under return data is click on add. Then let's return a new property called script. And for the value, we can reference the script variable using double curly braces. Now we can test this workflow in a slightly different way. We can click on preview and then run this workflow in the debugger. So now we have to provide the value of topic, which is automating business processes using AI agents. Let's run this, and this will bring up the debugger console. And after the run is completed, we can scroll up to view the value of script, which looks something like this. Alternatively, we can click on Preview, Preview Draft, and because we no longer have that chat node on our workflow, we can't send messages to our agent. Instead, we can click on View via API, so this will effectively mimic the behavior of calling this agent via an API endpoint. Let's click on Create Test Request. Let's enter the topic as automating business processes using AI agents, and let's click on Run Request. And look at that. That's what the response body would look like, and within the result we have our script property containing the script that was generated. Now let's keep adding to this workflow. After generating the script, I also want to generate title ideas. So let's move this up. Let's add another node. Let's select generate text. For the prompt, we can enter, your role is to generate 10 YouTube title ideas based on the following topic and the script outline. Then we can pass the topic, which we are receiving from the start node, along with the script, which we generated from this node. We also want to store the value in a variable, which we can call titles. Let's also rename this node to generate titles. And finally, let's go to the end node. Let's add another property in the return data called titles. And let's add a variable called titles. Let's test this workflow. Let's click on connect via API. Create test request. And for the topic, we can enter automating business processes using AI agents. Let's run this. And in the results, we can see our script. And we also get this titles property containing a whole bunch of title ideas. Our YouTube agent is starting to take shape, but it is missing a very critical component, and that's the YouTube thumbnail. Thankfully, MindStudio also supports multimodal models, which include image generation models. So what we can do is add another node. Let's click on Generate Image. So here we can add a prompt to describe the image, like a dog running in the field or whatever else. But of course, we don't want to hard code this value, as the description of the image should really depend on the video topic, perhaps even the title, and it could also be based on the script outline, which can definitely guide the style of the image. So how can we dynamically generate a prompt using these three attributes, and then add that prompt into our image generator? Well, thankfully that's super easy as well. Let's simply add another node. Let's add a generate text node, and this generate text node will be responsible for generating the prompt. So we could add something like, your role is to generate a prompt for an AI image generator. Then I'm also going to add one-shot prompting to this by providing an example. Let's expand this just to make it a bit more visible. And by the way, when you expand the window like this, you do get access to AI features which can assist you in generating these prompts for you or to automatically enhance the prompt. So I'm just giving an example prompt. Then I'm saying this is the video details where this is the topic, this is the titles, and this is the script, using the variables that we created in the previous nodes. So now that we have our prompt, let's change the setting to save to variable, and let's save this in a variable called prompt. This means in our generate image node, all we have to do for the prompt is to reference that variable. Let's also rename this node to generate prompt. Now on the generate image node, all we have to do now is select the model. I'm going to select ideogram version 2. Now do take note that in order to access these image generation models, you do need to provide a credit card on your account. You will not need to pay anything, as your free credit will be used for these image generations, but MindStudio simply needs the card to avoid fraud. Now, of course, you can simply skip this specific step if you don't feel like adding your credit card. You will still be able to follow along with this tutorial. Let's save the generated image in a variable as well. I'll call this variable thumbnail. On the model settings, I'm also going to change the aspect ratio to 16:9. That is the aspect ratio of a YouTube thumbnail. And finally, let's go to the end node. Let's add another property to the return data. Let's call this thumbnail, and let's also pass back the thumbnail variable. We will have a look at combining all of these values into a single PDF document in a minute, but let's test this out for now. In fact, let's run this in the debugger. It still remembered the topic that we entered earlier, so all we have to do is click on run. What I do like about the debugger is it does show you the billing events, so it is showing you how much you're paying for this execution. Great, let's have a look at what we got back. So in the sending message, we can see the titles and the script, and we can also see this image that was generated with the image generation model. Awesome. So how can we combine all of this information into a single asset, like a PDF document? That way, this workflow could email that document to a user. So to add assets, we can simply click on this plus button. Let's select Generate Asset. For the source document, we can enter whatever content we want to store in that PDF document. So I'll simply reference my titles, the script, as well as the thumbnail. Let's save this in an output variable called PDF. And for the format, we'll select PDF. We could also generate images. We can set the page size and the orientation. In the end node, let's add a property. Let's call it something like report. And for the variable, we'll pass in PDF. Let's go ahead and run this in the debugger. Using the same topic, we can now see that we do get this PDF document back. And in this doc, we have our titles. And if we scroll down, we also get our script outline. This looks very cool. And we also get a link to our thumbnail image, which looks something like this. This is actually really cool. We're not done yet, as MindStudio actually offers a very powerful feature for generating these workflows within seconds. But before I show you that, I do want to show you a few important features about these workflows. We can go to the debugger menu to jump to any of the previous executions and to see their results. In the API logs, we can also view our API executions of this workflow. We can also set up test cases using evaluations. So let's create a new test case. So either we can manually create test cases, or we can click on Auto Generate, which will use AI to generate test cases for us. Let's actually use that. And I'm just going to generate 2 use cases. Now this will generate a few topic ideas. We can also specify the expected results. And to execute these, we can simply click on Run All. Now this might not be ideal or practical in all use cases, but this can be useful if you are expecting the results to be returned in a very specific structure. And after execution completes, we can see the result in this results column. Now finally, let's have a look at one of the most powerful features offered by MindStudio, and that is the ability to generate the entire workflow using AI. So when creating a new workflow, we can simply describe the workflow that we're trying to create. For instance, this worker should assist me with generating YouTube scripts, titles, and thumbnails based on a topic as input. The results should be added to a PDF asset. Now let's build this. Right, so after a minute, we get this workflow architecture that was generated by this assistant, and it also gives us the system prompt that was generated, the user inputs, and the steps that will be executed to the workflow. So if we're happy with this, we can simply click on Accept and Build, and this will now take a minute to complete while it's adding the system prompt and generating the workflow for us. Alright, so our workflow has been generated. We can see the system prompt that was generated. And if we go to automations, let's have a look at what we got. So we have a start node that doesn't take any input, but they do have this collect user input node, which requires a topic and the content style. We also have our node for generating the title ideas. We have our generate script content node, the generate thumbnail concept node, which is effectively generating the prompt for the thumbnail, and then it's adding all of this information to a PDF document. What is useful to see here though is the use of HTML styling to make this PDF look great. And then it's displaying a summary of everything that's been generated so far, and then ending this flow. So what is missing here is the generation of the actual image. So it would be easy enough just to add a generate image node to this workflow as well, using what you've learned in the video so far. But this is not a bad start at all. We've barely scratched the surface in this video, as MindStudio allows you to do a lot more than this. You can of course add your own data sources, write your own custom functions, to do a lot more. So definitely give MindStudio a try by clicking on the link in the description, and also check out my other videos on automating business processes using AI tools. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.